Welcome to A Mind for Life. We are back. It is November of 2020. So we all know a lot of things have happened. A lot of things may happen, may not happen, didn't happen. But we're going to continue on with the videos. We're going to continue on with the vision, with the knowledge coming out. Okay, this is the cosmology of being. And what we're doing with the cosmology is that we are setting up a certain spiritual philosophical technology that will allow you to have a better life. That's the whole point of the channel, okay? The whole point of the channel is that we are offering spiritual philosophical technology so that you can become the best version of yourself. You can become the true blueprint of who you really are. We're going to pick up now with these videos, okay? We're going to go into emotion. Emotion is the video we're going to do today. And let me say this about the cosmology and in Mind for Life in general. This channel builds. So this is a channel where this is a study. Basically, it's a study. It's something you get into. It's something you learn. You might have to pull out the paper and the pen, whatever the case may be. If you haven't seen the previous videos, you might be a little lost. I would suggest you go back and watch those videos, even if you start from a few videos before this one. And that will give you somewhat of an idea of what we're talking about, because this builds up on itself. Emotion. Now, I've talked about emotions many times before. And if you remember, I've always said this: emotions are the telescope to the universe. The universe here, Y-O universe. Emotions perform a very important role in our lives and who we are. Emotions reveal to you what you really know, what you really believe, and what your true perspectives are. Let me say that again. Emotions reveal to you what you really know, what you really believe, and what your true perspectives are. We can't always know what our true perspectives are just by thinking. And I'm going to get into that later. But let me talk a little bit about emotion, belief, and perspective, because that's going to give you a little bit better insight on how this is all working out. To know, knowledge is practiced thought. When you practice thoughts over and over again, it becomes a part of who you are. We would say you know it by heart. Okay? We would say you know it by heart, and this would be your knowledge base. Whether it's true or false, that's very important. If you know something, doesn't mean it's true, but you know it, right? When you take a test and you learn the test backwards and forwards, from the middle to the top, you flip the questions, you rephrase the questions, and you can still answer those questions correctly, we would say you know the test. However, if you learn the test in a sequential way, and then the professor flips it and you get wrong answers, you don't know what to say or do, or you're lost, you really don't know it, do you? If you play a musical instrument, for example, and you know your part, you can play it backwards and forwards, slow, fast, put a different feel on it, etc. You know your part. If we get into a rehearsal situation and we flip it, we put make the bridge, let's say the intro, and you get confused because you learned it this way, you really don't know that. See, oftentimes we think we know things that we really don't know. What we're doing essentially is parroting information back. Parrot, like the bird. We're saying we know this, we know that, we know this, we know that, but we really don't know it. It's not a part of who we are because we haven't practiced those thoughts enough. And that's crucial. I used to have a professor used to say, okay, I'm going to flip these questions around because I don't want you guys parroting this information back to me. If you learned it this way and the answer was this, and if I ask you this way and you answer this way, then that doesn't mean you know it. So we're talking about how we know something. We got that plane up here. Now, let's get into belief. Belief is covenant knowledge. Belief is covenant knowledge. Belief is knowledge that you've come into agreement with. If you've come into agreement with what you know, it becomes your belief. You can know things that you're not in agreement with. This happened over here. I know that happened. I've seen it. I've read it. I've talked to people about it, but I'm not in agreement with that. When you come into a belief, you said, these thoughts I've practiced through conversation, through reading, through watching videos. When you do those things, by the way, you're practicing thoughts. If you practice those thoughts enough and you come into that agreement with those thoughts, then it's called a belief. I don't believe in Santa Claus, but there was a lot of practicing of the belief of Santa Claus through movies, TV, Christmas cards, etc., etc. So let's not confuse what we believe with what's true either. So I'm weeding out truth from this. I'm talking about the mechanics of knowing, belief, and perspective. Now let's get into perspective. Perspective is how you see something. Your perspective is how you see something. Hey, another plane. There's a lot of planes around here, okay? So your perspective is how you see something. And I've written a whole book on perspective. It's called A Mind for Life. All right? You can go check that book out. It's called A Mind for Life. Where perspective is your point of view. It's how you approach the world based on your knowledge and your belief. It's casting your belief onto experience. So when you have a perspective on something, you've casted your belief onto that experience. It doesn't give you true knowledge of the thing itself, but you have this perspective about it. If you see a bear, if you believe bears are nice and you look at bears, and then when you go see bears, you get afraid. But you thought they were nice. You said they were nice. You told your friends the bears were nice. But when you saw a bear, you got afraid. What does that really tell you about what you truly believe about bears? You truly believe that bears are scary. They're mean. They hurt people. But that belief that you had was not revealed to you just with your thinking. Just with the mechanics of your thoughts could not reveal that to you. You had an experience that showed you that your perspective on bears was incongruent with what you really believed. So what emotions do is they reveal. And I want to say this. What is revelation? Because there's a lot of talk about revelation. Revelation is a disclosure. Revelation is disclosure of information or even truth without mental effort. Revelation is disclosure of truth or information without mental effort. So you don't have to think about it. You don't have to figure it out. You don't have to go over and over it. You have to analyze, etc., etc. That's what revelation is. For example, if there's a chair right here and there's a sheet on the chair, and I ask you, what color is this chair? The sheet is totally covering the chair up. You can't tell me what color that chair is. There's no amount of thoughts, analyzing, compare, contrast, research that you're going to be able to do to tell me what the color of this chair is. However, when I pull the sheet off the chair, you know what color the chair is. The color of the chair was revealed to you. This is the role of emotions. This is why emotions are the telescope to your universe, because it reveals to you what you really know. And this all may sound kind of simple. Of course, yeah, sure. However, check this out. What about those situations in your life that haven't gotten better in years? Those people that you're still around. Those scenarios that keep happening. It's different faces in different places, but it's the same thing. What you know sets the limits of your experience. What you know sets the limits of your experience. So if you're not getting a different life experience, it's because you don't know different. You haven't practiced the thoughts that match up with what you really want to know and live and experience enough to where they become who you are. And therefore, you have come into agreement with that through your belief, and you've casted that perspective out onto reality. So this is why emotions are so important for us, is because they show us what we really know, what we really believe, not just what we parrot back. We see something on TV. Oh yeah, they said this, so I know it. You don't know it. You don't know that. You haven't practiced those thoughts enough till they become part of who you are. You heard something somebody said, and now you repeating it back like you know it, but you don't know it. And this gets into this idea of mentalizing. Mentalizing is a practicing of thoughts. It's when you visualize, when you analyze, when you compare, contrast. All of that is mentalizing. All right. So when you're mentalizing, you're in your own mind thinking and visualizing over and over again. Mentalizing is not going to reveal to you the truth of what you think, what you really believe and what you really know. It's not going to reveal that to you because you're using your thoughts to try to figure out your thoughts. See, just like a test and just like music, our life experience is a practice. We've practiced thoughts over and over again, but because we're so close to ourselves every single day, 24/7, 365, it's not so easy to know what we really know because we can't use our knowing to figure out what we know because we're too close to ourselves every single day to know what we really believe, even our real perspectives. It takes emotions to show us often how we really see this. So when we get into mentalizing, now I'm not saying mentalizing is a bad thing. Mentalizing has a few aspects to it that are crucial for our existence. Number one, mentalizing allows us to establish causality relationships, causal relationship. If I go in the water, I get wet. It doesn't tell me what water is, and it doesn't tell me what wet is, but I know that relationship. If I go in the water, I get wet because it's happened before. I've compared my experiences, which ultimately mentalizing is just measurement. So when you measure the thing, you don't know the thing itself, you're measuring it. Okay? If I go into a room and I flip the light switch, I know when I flip this light switch, the light comes on. That's a causal relationship. It's mentalizing. But that does not tell me at all the circuitry of the wires inside the wall and how electricity works. And it doesn't tell me any of that stuff. So I don't really know what it is. I just know this causal relationship. Mentalizing also creates knowledge. Very important. You probably didn't expect that, did you? Yes. Mentalizing creates knowledge. And remember, knowledge is just thoughts. You repeat it over and over again until they become part of who you are. It doesn't matter if they're true or false. Mentalizing creates knowledge. Let's take affirmations. You know this word affirmation. I am great. I am prosperous. Whatever you want to say over and over again, using your thoughts to repeat that over and over again in hopes of what? In hopes that it becomes a part of who you are. Once it becomes a part of who you are, you come into agreement with that. Yes, I am great. Now that becomes, you cast that belief onto your experiences. That becomes your perspective. Now you went from knowing to belief to having a perspective, and your life experience will change. Remember, what we know sets the limits of our life experience, whether we believe that or not. Knowledge creates the opportunity for revelation as well. Or, mentalizing creates the opportunity for that breakthrough, for that revelation. How does mentalizing create the opportunity for these breakthroughs and for this revelation? For oftentimes what happens is we work on a problem. Maybe you've worked on a problem over and over again, and we can't figure it out. We can't solve it. All the mentalizing in the world didn't bring it about. We go to sleep and we dream about the answer. We wake up and we have a new perspective. Revelation came through your emotions as a result of all of this mentalizing you were doing. All of this mentalizing. We can see instances in history where this has happened. So mentalizing is important. Mentalizing is important. Mentalizing gives It gives you, it can create knowledge. It can create knowledge. You say it over and over again, it becomes a part of who you are. Mentalizing also gives awareness of causal relationships. Mentalizing also creates the environment for revelation to happen, for the change to happen. Oftentimes we are going over information over and over again, and we're just going over and over it. It's not a part of who we are. It slowly becomes a part of who we are, but we can't, there's no breakthrough. It's just the same thing. Then we have a breakthrough one day. And the breakthrough, the revelation may seem like it just came out of nowhere. But when you look back, look how much time you practice. Look how much time you practice those thoughts, practice that instrument, read this and read that. Yes, you got a breakthrough. Revelation came in. Revelation is what gives you knowledge of God as well. You can't mentalize God. You can't figure out God. You can't philosophize God. God reveals himself to you through revelation, through spirit and relationship. Spirit and relationship creates the revelation, the movement of God in your life, which is a revealing. It's not a figuring out. Okay? So, last word on mentalizing, because this is going to take us into the next video. Mentalizing does not let you know the thing itself, as we said. Mentalizing puts things in boxes and then interacts with the labels that is placed on boxes. A person believes this about a group of people, and they interact with that group of people based on their categories they have about those people that's in their mind. Tells them nothing about really the people. It would take experience and ultimately revelation to do that. That being said, mentalizing just gives us an inductive knowledge. It just gives us, well, if I seen 10 blue cats, the next cat I see will be blue, pretty much. That's not necessarily true, but that's your mentalizing. That's what the limits of mentalizing are. They don't give you the direct knowledge. They don't give you the direct truth of what the thing itself is. All right, so that's going to branch us off into the next video, which is going to be on old and new logic. Okay, the next video we're going to talk about is old and new logic, and we got to pull this apart and get into this because we're in a new era now. I don't know if you recognize this. We are in a new time, a new day, and a mindful life is part of that new era. It's part of the new life, the new vision, and we want to be an inspiration to you. Okay, so we're going to continue these videos. We're going to get into old and new logic, and once again, be on the lookout for this book, A Mindful Life. It's going to be a heavy book. It's not pop culture book, but it is transformative. Okay, thanks for coming to A Mindful Life. Peace out.